What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Jab Journals. We're here in Canton at 5 Star Boxing and Fitness. I'm here with Sam Rizzo, who will be fighting March 9th at Motor City Casino. Sam, thanks for joining us today. How you feeling?
No problem. I'm feeling good today. Yeah. I'm excited to be doing this.
Yeah. How's training camp been going? Are you getting ready for this big fight here in a couple weeks?
Training camp's been going good. I've been training really hard every day. My coach has been, watching some videos of this guy, and we're putting together a plan of what we need to do to come out as a winner.
Yeah. Now before we get into the fight, I kind of wanted to take a step back and just look at how you got into boxing. It's not a normal sport that everyone does.
No, it's not.
So kind of talk to me about that. How'd you get involved in the sport?
Yeah, so we grew up in the same area, and I think I was maybe like 10 or 12, and I was messing around with different sports, soccer, all that, and karate, and I was kind of getting bored with it. And my dad was like, well, there's a boxing gym down the street. You want to go try it out? I was like, yeah, I've never really thought about it, but let's do it. Why not? Just being a 10-year-old that doesn't really have much thought about anything. I was like, yeah, let's go do it. And then I had my first day there, and I just fell in love with it, and I never stopped doing it, and that's it.
Here we are today.
Yeah,
right?
Here we are today.
Yeah. So talk to me about like your amateur experience. Now I know you started fighting pretty soon as you got in the gym, kind of, right? When was your first fight?
I actually think that my first fight wasn't until maybe like 2 years after I started, because my mom was always real strict and she didn't want me fighting and all that.
Right.
And finally I was like, come on, I've been doing all this training. I'm in the gym sparring. I want to go do a fight. And she finally let me do it, and that was the Detroit Junior Olympics. Was my first fight down there in Southwest Detroit, and I won it. And then we just kept going from there.
Yeah. And now you're training now in Canton with Greg, right? How did you get in contact? How did you meet him?
So we actually kind of found him on accident. I'd been moving around. I had jobs everywhere and school everywhere, and I was trying to find a trainer that was closer to me, because I was paying for all my own gas and everything. And so as a teenager, I needed something that was a little bit more convenient, and I was just Googling boxing trainers in the area, and Greg came up, but I was a little hesitant on it because it was a title boxing website, and I was like, oh, this is kind of fitness thing. I don't really know if this is going to be what I'm looking for, because I'm looking to really do like actual boxing, not a fitness class. And I was talking to my parents about it, and they're like, well, just go try it out. It was their idea. I wasn't even going to do it. And then they convinced me to do it, and I did the class, and then we got to talking, and he's like, yeah, I train fighters too. And I was like, okay, cool, where at? And he was like, in Canton. And at the time I was living in Plymouth, and I was like, well, that's perfect. It's got to be meant to be. And I started training with Greg, and I think it's been almost 10 years now I've been with him.
Yeah. Now, did you know anything about Greg's prior history with boxing, or it was just Googled him and took a shot?
I just Googled him. They had the little bio on him on the title website that he was, light heavyweight champ. He's done this. He fought at Kronk. And I was like, well, let's try it out.
Yeah. I mean, obviously he knows what he's doing. He's guided your career pretty well, as in the beginning of your career. Now, you turned pro in 22, right? 2022?
2021. We actually turned professional in late 2019. And we had a couple fights that we were scheduled to do at the end of 2019 that both got canceled. And then my actual debut then was supposed to be March 20th of 2020. And I think everything shut down on the 16th. Right. So that put us out. And then I had my debut September 10th of 2021. Now,
if I remember right, you've been pretty active since you started. You had that fight in 21, but you've had 3 fights in 22, 3 fights in 23. Now it's your first fight in 24. How important do you think that is, like in your beginning of your career, to be this active and be constantly fighting and staying in the gym?
I think being active is important because it keeps you in shape, keeps your head right. You don't get rusty and all that. We were even supposed to have a couple more fights last year, but they were getting canceled. And I think the problem with starting out is if you're fighting going too long in between, you kind of get out of the motion of training camp, out of the rhythm. You get a little lazy, or you start putting on weight just because you're not boxing hard like you used to. And so I think when you're fighting more frequently and gaining that all that experience faster, and it just kind of just more repetitive. You know, it instills it in you.
Now, just for like the casual fans and the non-fans even, you say you got a lot of fights canceled, right? How hard is that to be in the middle of a training camp? You get your mind ready, you get your body ready, and then you find out that the fight's canceled. What goes through your mind when that happens?
I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty frustrating because this is not a sport that you can be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So when you're in training camp, you're totally dedicated. You're missing out on maybe once in a lifetime events. You're missing out on holidays. You're missing out on weddings, whatever it is. You're not doing it because you're training, and then you give up all that time in your life that you can't get back, and then the fight gets canceled, and it's like, it makes you think like, what did I even do that for? But then, try and feel better about it. You're like, well, it's just more time to prepare. I'll be better off for the next one.
Now, with your trainer Greg, who's been experienced in the professional game, has he kind of helped guide you through those times? Because I'm sure that's happened to him, or something similar that's happened to him where fights fell out. Does that help you with someone with that kind of experience?
Yeah, it helps because he knows what it feels like. He's been through it, so he can kind of help talk me through, and versus someone who's it's very easy for someone to say, who hasn't boxed, who hasn't sacrificed their life for a fight and given up everything for it, training for it, and have it not go through. It would be very easy for someone who hasn't done it just to say something like, oh, it's too bad, on to the next one. But they don't understand how it really feels. So Greg, with it having happened to him, he's able to just tell me, hey, this is what it is. It's, it just maybe it wasn't meant to be, yada yada.
Yeah, it's just like, it's got to be hard to have your blinders on and focus on a date, and then it get ripped away from you. But it sounds like you got a good team behind you that helps you stay focused and gets you ready for the next one. And they've been doing a good job of scheduling more fights. Like I said, you haven't had a long layoff really throughout your whole professional career since you started. So that's obviously good for you, good for the team. Kind of take me through, we were talking beforehand before we started filming, you're an electrician by trade, yeah. IBEW Local 58,
yep,
right?
Local 58.
Take me through a regular day of training and in training camp for you.
Yeah, so my regular day will start from when I get up. I usually get up around 3:45, 4 o'clock in the morning. I wake up, get dressed, drink some water. I'm out doing my road work. I got to do it so early because, like you said, I am in the trade, so I have a full-time job, and we usually start early. So I go out, I do my running, I jump rope, I do some calisthenics, stretch out a little bit, eat some breakfast, then I'm off to work. Then.
And how long is like a normal shift, like throughout your week?
Depends on the job. Sometimes it's 8-hour days, sometimes it's 12-hour days. Right now I'm doing 10-hour days, and so I'm working from 6:30 to 4:30. As soon as the job's done, I'm in the car on my way to the gym, and then I'm here training for a couple hours, 2-3 hours, depending on the session. And in that session, we every workout starts the same with our warm-up, and then we'll go over like a strategy plan, technique, conditioning. I have my other coach Mike Dover, where I do my strength and conditioning with him when we're done doing all of our boxing training with Greg.
So it's safe to say your life is dedicated to boxing. When you have a fight, that's your only goal. That's your only focus.
That's it. There's no time for anything else. It's just working, boxing, sleeping.
Would you have it any other way?
I think about that a lot when I'm in training. Like, is this worth it? This is very tough to do. It's like my days never end. It's go from time I wake up to the time I go to bed. But then when I am in these times between my fights where I'm taking a little time off, or I have an injury or something, and I just feel very bored when I'm not boxing. So to me, it's what I love to do. Even with working as much as I do, as hard as it is, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Now, when you get in the ring on fight night, does it kind of all come back to like, man, this is why I trained. This is why I did all this, to be in front of all these people and show them what I can do. Does that, at the end of the day, make it worth it?
Yeah, that does definitely helps make it worth it. It's a crazy feeling. I don't know. Only the people who have done it know what it feels like when you're out there you got those bright lights on you. Everybody's watching you. It's like you're under a microscope, and everybody's screaming and yelling. You can feel the energy in the air. And even the fights that I've lost, it still is just, it's a very accomplishing feeling to know that you put in all the training for it. You went out there and you did it.
Right.
Not a lot of people can say they've done that.
Yeah. Now you touched on a little bit before in training with Greg, about going over your strategy and kind of how you plan on attacking this fighter and that fighter. How much time do you think you dedicate to actually planning the fight and the strategy side of things?
So I let my coaches handle that. I trust them. I trust their experience. Everything they've done in the past hasn't let us down. The only times that their strategy hasn't worked is when, me being young, I haven't listened to them.
Hard-headed,
yeah. Whatever. So I know my coaches have spent a lot of time in the gym and out of the gym studying this guy, putting together a plan. And as long as I can do what they tell me to do and stick to the plan, it should be a good night.
Now, we mentioned you've had a very active career. You're 5-1. That one though was you just had a redemption fight, your last fight. Beating Akeem Jackson by 6-round decision. Take me through that first fight and what was different between the first fight and the second fight.
Yeah. So not to correct you, but I'm actually 6-1.
Oh, my apologies.
Yeah. That 6th fight was the redemption fight.
My bad.
Basically, we didn't really have to change a whole lot for the fight other than just cleaning things up. Because the first fight went very well. Besides a few mess-ups, I basically dominated that whole first fight. We had a few things we needed to clean up, and we did that. And then, I don't know if you saw my last fight, but the first round, I was a little flustered, and I didn't do what we had planned to do. I didn't clean it up. And then that's when I got knocked down that first round. And so I had to get back up, focus, stick to the plan, and it was a pretty easy night.
Now,
we dominated the rest of the fight.
Yeah. Now, was there anything that when you went back to your corner that Greg told you, like, hey, slap you around a little bit, maybe say something that just helped you focus and be like, okay, yeah, that's why we're here. We gotta take it back. I gotta listen to Greg more.
Not really. Me and Greg have a pretty straightforward way of being a coach and a boxer. He can tell me a lot without even saying it. I just see it in his face, in his eyes. He's very theatrical with his faces, and I basically know exactly what he's saying without him even saying any words, and I just say, okay, all right.
Now, you mentioned you got knocked down that first round. What was going through your mind when you got knocked down? Was it a flash knockdown? Were you hurt? No. I saw a clip of it, but I couldn't really see your eyes. You can really tell a lot by boxers' eyes. How did you feel when you went down?
It was just a flash knockdown. We had worked because he was very, very tall, southpaw, and we had worked on not stepping to the right and opening up because it put me right in line for his right hand or his left hand, and I did that, and I was just kind of off balance because I was square to him, and it. I stood right back up. Didn't hurt me at all, but in my head, I was like, not again.
Right.
I was like, are you serious? And I was like, all right, time to tighten up, get back to the plan, and take this fight on.
Right. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, the what you've done already. The first fight was a 4-round fight, right? The second fight was a 6-round fight. Do you think that kind of helped you, like, get over that knockdown? Like, okay, I got 2 more rounds to kind of make up for it?
Yeah, so that helped in that aspect, and then also just our conditioning. At the 4-round fight, I was ready to go after the 4th round. He was dead tired, and I know if we had another couple rounds, I probably could have finished that fight.
Yeah. Okay. So now leading up to the fight March 9th, you're taking a step up. You guys got 17 fights.
Yes.
You've been watching tape on. What do you think? What does he bring to the table that other opponents haven't?
I think he brings to the table. He's got more experience. He's been around. He's been in big fights. He's got 17 fights. I got 7. So there's probably not a whole lot that I can show him that he hasn't seen. So I need to just make sure that, like I said earlier, my coaches are putting a plan together. I've been watching them, and I got to make sure I'm sticking to that plan. can't get distracted, can't get lazy, and as long as I stick to that plan that my coaches are making, it should be a good night.
Yeah. Now, in preparing for this fight, knowing that it's a step-up fight, knowing that this could lead to bigger fights, do you have that switch that you turn on a little extra, or do you kind of take it as this is just another fight, time to go do the same thing I've always done?
It's a little bit of both because I try to keep it, like you said, it's just another fight so that I'm relaxed, I'm not getting stressed out, not getting tense. But at the same time, I do know that this is a step-up fight, like you said, and this can lead to bigger and better fights. So I need to make sure that I'm not leaving, any stone unturned. Mm-hmm. In the past, when I had a fight and I was like, I'm going to beat this guy, maybe on a morning while I was real tired or real sore, I might skip a run. Mm-hmm. But for this one, I know that every single day, all day long, I have to be doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Right. Now this guy, he's known for going the distance, being a bruiser coming at you. Do you think that plays well into your style, or does that play against your style?
Our style changes on every opponent we fight. We train for each guy we're fighting. And like I said, my coaches are putting a plan together. Mm-hmm. They know what needs to be done. I know what needs to be done. And like I said, if I stick to that, it should be a good night.
All right. You seem full of confidence, which is good to see in a fighter, like right before a fight. Does that just come from your training and from knowing that you're working hard and everything like that, or is that just something you've always had?
Well, I mean, you've known me since I was a kid. Mm-hmm. You might say it's something I've always had. I've always been kind of smart mouth, smart aleck, all that stuff. But no, all the training we do, all the working I do helps give me confidence. I train very hard. I work very hard. So I tell myself, a lot of these guys that I'm boxing with are not doing physical labor all day long. Right. Them boxing at night. So when I take that little break before the fight, I have a few days off work, my body's rested, I'm recovered. And if I can do all that work during my training and then still box at the end of the night, it's very easy for me to think that, well, I'll have no problem boxing now. I haven't been working, right. I'm rested.
Now, since you touched on that, I was kind of curious about that. How long do you take off of your full-time job before you step into the ring for a fight?
Depends on the like I was saying earlier. Depends on the job I'm on. If it's an easier job, 2 or 3 days. If it's a harder job I'm on, maybe a week. Yeah. Because this is the trade, so we're tearing our bodies up right. every day, and so it really just depends.
Yeah.
But at least 3 days usually.
Yeah. Now, without looking too forward, obviously this, like you said, the biggest step up in your career. What does this fight lead you to? What do you think is next? Without overlooking the guy, I'm not trying to get you to do that, but
oh yeah, you never do that.
Yeah, but just like after this fight, what's next for Sam Rizzo?
After this fight, I think that maybe I'll be noticed a little bit more. They're gonna say, okay, Sam with 7 fights, just beat this guy who has been fighting on Showtime fights, fought on TV. He's fought a lot of big names or undefeated fighters. And say, okay, Sam can handle that. Now let's step him up to a bigger fight, better competition, TV fights, right. And you just keep moving up. You gotta keep progressing.
Before we send off this episode, I gotta ask, what's your prediction for the fight?
Prediction for the fight is I see us winning. I have total trust and confidence in my coach, in my team, and their plan, and I'm gonna stick to that, and we're gonna come out winning.
All right. Well, you heard it here, guys. That does it for this episode of Jab Journals. Watch out for Sam Rizzo March 9th at Motor City Casino. Be sure to tune in. We'll see you on the next one.